Okay, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of creating the stylized car. In this part, I'll be continuing to model the car, hopefully completing the low poly before going in and attempting to do the high poly. So when we last left off, I had just completed doing the body here of the vehicle. And I'm liking where we are. I'm going to go and affect my pivot point. And I'm going to bring the grid back here, and we are going to snap the pivot point to the origin. And just want to take a look at what we're getting here with the vehicle as is. So not too bad. It's definitely coming together. I've got to do the all the wheels as of yet. We got to do something to close off the bottom of the vehicle. We don't want to have it open. I'm going to do the grille, the headlights, and the fog lights, as well as the roof of the vehicle here, before we get into doing any kind of high polyness anywhere. And so that's going to be of importance here as well. Let's see. I'm going to go in, delete the history on these guys, and we are going to, these are the windows that I have here selected, and I'm going to edit my pivot. Again, holding X to snap this to the origin, like so, which should allow me to duplicate these things in the right way. I'm also going to go to modify and freeze transformations in order to get these the rotations correct here, so that I've got them on the right side. So there we are there. We're going to need to make the rear windshield. So I'm going to select both halves of the body of the car, combine it, and go and grab these vertices here, of which there are 14, and there should actually only be 7. So edit mesh and merge, and I'm down to 7, which is nice. And yeah, essentially what I want to do now is just go and create that rear windshield. I'm going to do that by just grabbing the two sides that I've got here of the back plate, and I might as well, while I'm at it, do the rest of the frame here as well. So I'm going to go and grab these and bridge, and that'll give me the rear windshield space as well as the window itself. So I'm just going to add another section here so that it matches up, followed by grabbing the windshield or the window and separating it. It's not going to let me separate it as is. So let's see. Let's go to mesh, edit mesh, and detach, followed by separate. It has only one piece. So let me just, yeah, that is completely. There we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete the windows on the other side and delete the center of this guy. We'll combine these. The windows can all be one object, which again, I'm going to need to manipulate the pivot. And we'll put that down at the origin here again. So I'm going to hold X again and align it to the origin. We'll go to modify and freeze transforms again. And we should now be able to duplicate that on the other side, followed by combining it with the other one. I'm also going to break the windshield out of its frame. So here I'm just grabbing every polygon of the windshield. And again, edit mesh, and we are going to detach, followed by separate. And now I can grab all the windows like this and combine. And we're just going to isolate all of these things and make sure that everything here has been welded together. So we're going to go to edit mesh and merge, like so. And that should do it. That should be all of the glass now done. So we're going to go to the object mode and into the channel box, and we're going to go rename this object Windows _ low. And I'll delete my history on this. And we'll freeze the transforms on it as well. Okay, and we've got some windows. We're going to need to make the roof of the car here. I'm going to bring the reference images back, as well as going into my side view. Okay. So just taking a look at where things are and where they need to be. It's got to have this angled rooftop section here, which is going to be kind of important. You can see that I've actually shrunk down the windows a little bit in order to make them match a little bit better with the design of this thing, at least when viewed from the other views here. And so this is going to make creating the roof a little bit more interesting. So I think what I'll do to start off with is we'll close off the gap. So we'll actually just close off this hole. Let me isolate the rooftop here. And what this will do is give us the ability to now bridge that. And again, I'm going to add another division here in order to be able to weld those vertices together. So there should be 3, there's 4. So edit mesh and merge. And now there are 3. And I'm going to need to also start connecting this to the front here as well. And you can see the front is raised up. So as I do this, we're going to end up with all kinds of weirdness going on. So maybe what I might do, let's do this a different way instead. I'm going to grab these guys and delete them. And I think what I'll do instead is I'm going to grab this edge from the front. Again, there's some vertices that are unwelded here. 6 vertices here, where again there should only be 3. So edit mesh merge, like so. So if I go into edge mode here and I grab this one all the way along, like that, and then go to my move tool while holding shift, drag this guy back, and then I can scale him out flat so that he matches the back of the vehicle here. Like that. That'll give me essentially the shape that I want. I'm not quite done yet, as I'm going to need to add a connection in here. Okay, so something like that. And we're going to move this connection forward so that I can weld the vertices together from the door jamb here and here. So again, I have 4 vertices. We're going to go to edit mesh and merge. And now there are, it still said 4. Let's try this again. Edit, merge. Let's bring the distance up. There we go. And then these 2. All right, that's better. I'm going to have to do the same thing here at the back. I want to make sure that I get these in the right place. So I'm going to grab this edge. And target weld. Again, make sure you have no vertices selected before entering target weld. And I'm dragging the frame to the roof. I know the roof is nice and straight, and so that'll give me a nice clean effect there. Again, I'm going to need to add a few sections into the windshield here, or into the windscreen, to give it that curve that's there for the body. And I definitely want that curve to be there. That looks very much in the spirit of the vehicle's design here, that kind of cartoony nature. And so I'm going to have to go and add a bunch of sections here to this. So I'm going to do this with the edge selection. I'll just grab these, and I'm going to hit connect and enter, and then we'll move this guy over here, where I'll straighten them out and line them up. And I'm going to do the same thing, another connection, Again, we're going to use scale to flatten it. I'll do another one here. Connect, enter, scale, flatten, and align this one up. And that should be good. So now, if I grab these two and bridge, these two and bridge, and then we'll do the last two together here. Bridge. So you notice I didn't add the same number of edges to the back as were on the front. What this did is it actually gave me a quad on the corner here. And so I didn't actually leave myself a triangle, which I think is going to look better in the end. I'm going to go to my top view here and delete the, again, the passenger side, which is inaccurate at the moment. And I'm not really liking the harshness of this edge, so I'm going to bring this forward here to start giving me a little bit of curvature in that area. Just something like that. And in fact, I might bring this vertice forward here as well and kind of taper that curve a little bit to the front. I think that'll read a little bit better. Next, we're going to go to the side view here, and I'm going to have to bring that up. So up to about here, and again I'll grab these ones. This again feels to me like something should be fairly straight. I'll put that right over the wheel, or whatever the shape that I have there. Excuse me. I'm going to add another connection in here as well, and I'm going to use this connection to give me a little bit of the front of this thing. So that's going to give me a little bit more of that that boxy shape that this thing is meant to have. It has gone and created an N-gon for me in that connection that I added, which is not the end of the world because I can go and grab these edges here and connect them like so, and this will give me two vertices here that I can connect again to once again quad everything off. Excuse me. So I'm going to look at this thing from the front. I've got a very strong corner here, so I'm going to bend this in a little bit to round off the roof, which doesn't look so bad. And I might do the same thing here with this edge here. Well, it was originally created to be part of the area holding the windscreen together. If I go and bring this up now, I can again give myself a little bit of curvature in that design, or into that shape, that hopefully makes it feel a little bit more more accurate here. Like this vertice here, I'm just looking at how harsh that corner is, and I think it needs to come back just a little bit. Okay, excellent. Excuse me. I do believe we're in a good place here now. Yeah, so I'm going to try and do a little bit of manipulating here. I don't like the corner that I'm getting here. To me, this reads like it should actually be a part of this object here. So while this is going to overlap the door, I'm going to end up needing to manipulate the door here as well, only because this will give me something that I think reads a little bit better. So I've just gone and done that, which now makes it look like the frame is kind of all interconnected here. This is leaving me with two triangles, and I can actually see a very quick solution to that, which would just be to go in and connect here, followed by removing those two edges like that, which will give me a couple of quads, which I think will read quite a bit nicer than what I've got. I've got a triangle here too, which I think might end up being a little bit of a problem, but we'll have to see. Now I'm going to unhide everything else, and as I remember seeing on the door, I'm going to go and delete that polygon and that polygon, and now the door actually fits in that jamb, again, quite nicely. All right, excellent. In terms of what we got left, I want to do a little bit of this sun visor thing here. It's going around the front of the vehicle. And then we've got some headlights and some bumpers and some wheels to do. So excellent. So let me start by duplicating this guy. And we're going to go and combine them. We'll grab all of the vertices. And we'll give them a very quick weld. So edit mesh. And let's see, merge. And that should be good like that. Again, I'm going to double check this by clicking a singular polygon, and it should go all the way around the asset, which it currently does. It looks like we've lost a little bit of the curvature here in the back. So I'm going to go and put that back in. Something a little bit more like that. I'll do this on both sides here. So again, just giving me a little bit more of a rounded shape on that top compartment. Excellent. Okay, let's, we got a door handle to make here too, on the side of the door. We've got the rear view mirror to make on the side of the door. We should do those to help complete the door. Now, there's not a lot of information here that we can gain from the concept art in terms of what this door handle is, other than it looks like it's some kind of a rounded shape with a hole in the bottom here to enable fingers to go inside. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to make that hole on the door in order to be able to have the door handle sit in there. And I'm also going to need to make the door handle itself. Now, the order in which I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be starting with the door handle. And the reason I want to start with the door handle is that it'll make it a little bit easier to make the hole for the door handle if I get this built kind of the right way. So I'm starting with a torus because I like the rounded shape that it's already giving me here. And let's go into the attribute editor under polytorus, and I'm going to bring the radius down to something like so, and see if we can't now get this to get a little bit closer to the actual shape. Okay, it's not bad like that. I'm going to reduce these things down to, let's see, what does 8 look like? Yeah, I think 8 is going to work. Again, this is a very small detail, and so I don't need it. I don't need it to be a very high resolution detail. So 8 polygons will probably be enough. And then I'm going to go and, let's see, scale is not going to work here. I'm going to have to do this a different way. Let me do this from the front as well. So I'm going to try and put this on the door at an angle that matches those polygons on the door. So something a little bit more like that is going to work. That's essentially going to be what the what this thing looks like. Now, before I do that, let's go to the top view here, and I'm going to isolate this thing. I know I don't need any of the internal polygons, and this thing is too rounded right now, so I'm going to bring these in ever so slightly. Give me something that reads a little bit more correct in terms of the shape. Yeah, that's not too bad. Next, I'm going to rotate it. And again, I'm going to do this from the front so I can match the rotation that the door is on, or that polygon from the door is on, so somewhere about there. So there's my door handle. This is going to be where the person grabs to open the door. And what I want to do is, yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave it just like that, I think. The only other thing that, yeah, no, we'll leave it. We'll leave it. I think it's going to be good. Okay. Channel box, we're going to go rename this door handle underscore low. Like so. And, yeah, that's looking pretty decent. we got some headlights we're going to need to make. I'm going to make those out of a sphere. And I'm going to go to the attribute editor for the sphere, and we're going to reduce this down to 12 segments. Part of the reason I'm using 12 is that is the number of segments around in the opening here, which is going to be kind of super important. We're going to go to the front view and modeling toolkit. We're going to grab the bottom half of polygons and delete them. In object mode, I'm going to compress this thing down until it's a dome, followed by rotating it like so, and again matching the angle that I've got that shape at. Next, we're going to place this inside where the headlight belongs. So something a little bit like this. And try and get this aligned as I can. Something a little bit like that. We're going to scale this guy down. And I want to make sure, there we go. Something like that is going to look pretty good. Okay, headlight underscore low. We'll go name that. Again, I'm going to have to duplicate this, so that'll end up becoming headlights underscore low. But that'll work like that. I'm also going to use this as the base for the fog light. So I'm going to duplicate this guy and move the duplicate out here. And we're going to go and align this to the fog light, which will then scale it down to match the fog light. And we're going to scale it in as well. I don't need it to be out so far. And then again, I want to make this a little bit more interesting than just a little dish on here, a little dome. So I'm going to grab all of the edges from this, and holding shift, I'm going to scale them out to extrude them, followed by again holding shift and dragging them backwards until they're inside the fender, to give me a little bit of a trim on that object, which I can now rename, instead of headlight, fog light underscore low. And again, we're going to end up with a duplicate of that object as well. There should probably be some taillights on here. There doesn't appear to be anything in the design that indicates taillights, but we're going to have to go and figure something out in order to make that right. There's still a bevel on the door that needs to be added through this edge here. So I can see here too, I'm going to want to cut on this guy. Let's go to multi-cut to here. And I'm then going to want to vertex snap with move this vertex here to something like that. So this is where I'm going to create that that bevel. So I'm going to need to do this with the multi-cut. And I'm going to start about here and bring it all the way to back here. And I'm going to do the same thing underneath to about there, followed by, whoops, let's undo that, followed by just joining these guys together here. Before I go and do the one in the corner panel here in the rear, I'm just going to make sure that these are flat. So again, I can do this with the vertices here and just flatten them out. And same thing with these ones, flatten them out. The reason I want to do that is that it's going to help me make the ones in the rear match as well. So I'll put that one up there. I'm going to put them a little bit away from where I want them to go for now, only because it'll be easier to match them up once they're in. So if I grab this and we go look at its Y position 2.62. We're going to match that. This one is 2.41. And we'll match that. Followed by a vertex snap. This vert. And this vert. And then again, I'm going to use the multi-cut here. Let me check this in the side view. The perspective view looks a little deceiving here. It can look like things are not exactly where they're supposed to be. And in the case of this, it's actually correct. It was not where it was meant to be. And I'm going to line these guys up here as well. And again, I'm going to go to my multi-cut. And again, join those together in a new shape. And that's where that bevel is going to go. So again, if I go into now, grab this edge and this edge, and we go into the 3D view, I'm just going to pull this out a little bit, which should give me the bevel that I'm looking for. I've got all kinds of normal smoothing that needs to happen as well. That's going to be one of the last things I do. But that looks good. Again, this is going to require me to redo again the from the top here, that other side of the vehicle, as well as the door. Intriguing. The doors were actually separate. So there's the other door. There's the other side of the car. I'm not going to bother merging them in case I have to change anything else. Okay. Let's see what we can do with the underside of the car here. So I'm going to grab these two things and isolate them. And start off by, well, I guess start off by merging them so that I can bridge between them. Again, I'm not going to bother with the merge or the bridge yet down the center. I'm just going to wait until I end up with something that is going to be doable here. So I'm going to add a connection in the middle, and I'm going to bevel that connection. So what I'm doing here is I need to make the wheel wells, and they're going to be an internal shape here where the wheel is going to sit, and that internal shape is not actually going to go all the way across the bottom. So this is going to give me a means of cutting that off, if you will. And so I'm going to do something like that. And this is going to need to get a center line. That's peculiar. Yeah, that's really bizarre. Okay. I'm not sure what's happening here, but my cut was not going all the way. So anyway, we can just use the multi-cut to do that. I'm going to now merge these to the back. That's peculiar as well. Okay. I think it's because there's separate pieces here that they're not bridging. Okay, so I found an error in my geometry here. It would appear that there's a break in the geometry here. I'm going to take these two vertices and merge them. And try and move them here. Yeah, there is indeed a polygon that does not belong. So that's an easy enough thing to do. I'm just going to select it and delete it. So there must have been an extrusion at some point that I had done that ended up not going anywhere. Equal number of edges. That is an equal number of edges. And so let's check and see what's going on here. Faces. 2 faces. Faces. 2 faces. So again, we're running into an error here. I guess we'll try merging all the vertices to see if that does the trick. And indeed it did. So there must have been just something else in there that was not doing what it was supposed to have done. And so, yeah. When in doubt, merge everything together. Okay, that's going to work quite nicely. I'm going to start in on the wheel wells. Now again, I'm only working on the driver's side here. And the reason I'm only working on the driver's side is that it's a lot easier to just do one side and then remirror it over. I'll never get it to be completely symmetrical if I just try doing the same thing to both sides. And so this is a little bit of a nice trick here to get me where I want to be without having to worry too much about the shape. So here I'm just dragging in that wheel well like so. And you can see that it left me with a couple of weird shapes here. I'm actually looking at this this fender shape. And I think I'm going to need to bring these guys in a little bit to just soften that shape a little bit further. And then I'm going to need to put some more edges in here too. I probably don't want it to just be straight in like this, though that is going to give me the effect that I'm looking for. I'm probably going to want to put another extrusion in here, so why don't we do that first? Let's go and grab all of these edges, and I'm going to make a connection here, and we'll go and slide the connection, if we can. Wrong way. Come on, you. Okay, whatever, I'll do that. Followed by just moving it into where I want it to go. So I'm also going to try and straighten it out here. And I want to essentially line it up with that one. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'll get it kind of close. And then there's going to need to be another one in here. Which again, I'm going to straighten out or flatten here with the scale tool, followed by dragging this in to about here, where again I can now see where my bridges are going to complete the shape for me. So there's 3 edges and 3 edges, which I can now bridge. Okay, so that gives me that. Which is quite nice. I'm going to need to do something here along the front as well. That's where the bumper is going to end up being. But what I'd like to do first is get rid of the extra edge I don't need in here. So again, make sure you have nothing selected before turning on target weld. I'm going to bring this one over, maybe even this one. You know what? I don't think I'm going to need this edge at all. And so I'm going to start already moving it over. Like so. Okay. Now I can go into the edge here that I just separated, this one, and control backspace to remove it. And if I go into vertices here, I'll take this one and just bring it back over a little bit. Like so. Now, if I go and grab all of these polygons, which again doesn't require me to have anything beyond that. This also grabs some of the hood. And I probably don't need to do this there. You know what? I think I'm going to do this a different way. I was going to extrude this, bringing it up and inside the wheel well a little bit, but I think I'm actually going to leave it like that. I think it'll give me a decent enough shape as is. So I'm going to start merging or bridging my shapes off here on the inside of the wheel well in order to correct this, or do that. Okay, now I've got two that are going to need to merge into one, so we're going to bridge one. Followed by this guy with this. And again, I'm going to go and target weld these guys over to clean that shape up. And yeah, that'll give me that wheel well. I think this one's got to come back over. I don't know why. I thought I'd straighten this out, and it appears to have not been straightened. I'll do this with the polygons. So I'm just going to flatten them out here using the scale tool. I'm going to do this with vertices instead, just to make sure I get all of them. You'll notice I left a little triangle off here empty. It was not actually a mistake. I did that on purpose so that when I add this edge in and I go and target weld, come on. There we go. Then I end up with quads up at the top there. And then I'm not really liking how this thing just kind of ends, so I'm going to bring him over here. And then just connect these guys here. And there's now a wheel well, at least for the front. I'm going to do the same thing here in the back. We'll start going all the way around the wheel. So again, I'm just going to hold shift and drag that back, followed by flattening it with the scale tool. And again, this, along with this one, should probably be in the same place, which in the end should line up with this edge here. I'm going to leave it there for now. Again, we're going to have to clean it up in a bit. I'm going to go find the top two and remove them and bridge. Like so, followed by grabbing this edge and connecting. Nope. Connecting. And then target welding the rogue vertice back in. Okay. And that rear wheel well has now got its shape made. We're just going to need to now complete the sort of gaps that are here in terms of closing them off. And so again, this is not a complex thing to do. I'm going to start off with first taking these two edges and holding shift. I'm going to bring them back and scale them in. And this is going to give me a, if I bridge here, another quad that'll finish off that piece. I'm going to undo that. It appears that guy was welded in where it shouldn't have been. So I'm just going to merge this back, or bring this back here. Bridge these. So there, that's now the right shape. And I can now go into the target weld here and clean all of this up. So this can go back to the wheel well. This can go to this point. This can go to that point. This can go to this point, and this can go to this point. And again, because this is all relatively flat here, that one's got to stay. So this one, this is part of the wheel well shape, so it should be back there. You have that angle. And so, if I go and grab these edges here, like so, and scale them, again to flatten them out, I can then grab this edge and holding shift to extrude it, just bring it all the way to the back here, where again I'll flatten it out and line it up. These two edges can now be bridged, and that closes up the back of the wheel. I'm going to grab this vertex and target weld it. Like so. And that's nice and clean. We now just need to continue the shape in back here. So again, this is kind of where that rear bumper is going to go. And while there isn't really a shape here yet for that rear bumper, again, I'm going to kind of freestyle move the shape here. Going to kind of make things up as I go. I'm going to round out the bottom here. Again, this is not entirely what's there in the concept. You can see that it actually just comes kind of straight in after that bumper, which I can do. I can actually just bring this up in here and give me that shape. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. I think that's going to work just as nice. I'm going to need to now connect these two. So I'm going to bridge in between here, and on my bridge I'm going to add two divisions like so, and this is going to allow me to target weld these guys back in here, again closing off that shape and rounding out that kind of bumper a little bit. I should probably do the same thing here. Take these two and bridge, give it a couple of connections again, and then go back to my vertices here and make sure might as well do the entire thing. So I'm just going to merge to clean that up, and now I've got a shape here that's going to allow me to create that bumper quite nicely. So under target weld we can close off this shape, and that's going to leave us with a couple more edges here. So let's see, this one can come in, this one can come out, and that should leave me with a quad. So this edge and this edge, if I bridge, it'll close off that shape. Again, I'm going to try and soften this a little bit here. I'm seeing zigzagging in my edges, and so if I just go and play around with these vertices in terms of the shapes that they're having, it'll allow me to get something a little bit cleaner here. Maybe I'll pull that down. Maybe I'll pull this one down a little bit too. Just soften that transition a little bit. Okay. That's now completed the rear wheel hub here, and I'm going to need to do the same thing for the front. Now, before I do anything to the front, we should probably go and address the actual grill that's here, because the grill followed by the bumper are going to complete the shape that's needed to be needed here. And so the easiest way to do this, I'm going to first grab the edges from the front of the hood, and I'm going to hold shift and drag them down about like so. I'm then going to grab those new polygons, and I'm going to go to edit mesh and detach, followed by separate, And that is now going to give me the bevel that's going to live around the outside of the grill here. So I'm just going to move this one in line with that angle, and then we're going to go to this one, and I'm going to grab this and this and this and this, and I'm going to hold shift and bring them kind of down and out like so. And then I'll grab these vertices and again just reposition them here. To do something a little bit more like this. And then this edge can also come up to meet them. Followed by some target welding. Let's make sure I don't have any vertices selected here again, which I do. There we go. So we'll just go and target weld here, here to here. And I'm not going to be able to target weld that one yet. I'm going to have to detach these before I do that. So we can do that. I'm going to grab this, edit mesh and detach, followed by a separate. And now these two can be combined. And I can go and target weld. Get out of here. There. Lastly, I'll take this vertex and reposition it again so that I can now take this all the way across the middle. This is then going to get straightened out and an X brought right to 0. I can delete the other side, and this is now going to give me the starting of my grill. This is going to be the little polygons here that make up the thickness of that grill. So if I go and grab these things all the way around and we extrude, so I'm going to give these a little bit of thickness. I'm holding control here to soften that a little bit. And a little bit of offset. So you can see, it's an easy thing to fix here, that the offset didn't actually work the way that it was supposed to. And that's because this hadn't actually been welded. And so that's not the end of the world. I'm just going to grab these two vertices here, edit mesh, and merge. And I'm just going to turn up the threshold until they merge. And I'm going to bring this back down again, just so that the next time I use it, it doesn't merge things together I don't want. And so there, that's given me essentially the side, or the bevel around. This gave me an inside here as well, which I don't need as well. So I can delete that. That did not do what I expected it to. There we are. So it would appear like there's still some vertices here that aren't actually welded. Yeah. Whenever you get things that don't behave the way you expect them to, go and find out why. Because it can actually solve a problem you haven't yet encountered, which is kind of important. I'm going to go grab these guys and straighten them out, and again add them to 0 in X. And then if I go and place again the pivot here to the origin, it should give me the other side, no problem. Which now I can go and combine, and there should be 8 vertices here, whereas I have 16. Merge, you can see, was set too strong, so we're going to bring this down here, and then just bring it up a little bit. 8, there we go. So that gave me the little bit of trim that's going to frame where that front grill goes. And I'm actually going to grab the inner edge, and I'm going to extrude it inwards a little bit, maybe something like this. And the reason I want to do this is that I need something behind where the grill is going to be. Again, there would normally be like an engine or something back here. But without that, I'm not going to have everything that I need to make this work the right way. So I'm going to bridge these. I got an error here telling me that I don't have the same number of edges, which I can very obviously see that's the case. I don't have any edges in here. And so we're going to take those, and I'm going to add 1, 2 segments to these, like that. And that should now, if I switch over to edges, bah. There. So again, something bizarre is happening here. Where my connection tools are not doing what it's supposed to. You can see it's working on one side, and the other side is just behaving really strangely. But not the end of the world. Again, I can always just delete that other side, followed by a bridge, and then merging it back again. So we'll do that, and this. And that's all quadded off quite nicely in the middle, which, again, if I duplicate and grab these things and combine and remerge this together again, that should give me a nice shape for that object. So if I go look at the front here, we can go see how many shapes we're going to need inside that grill. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to make these out of a box, which is probably the easiest way to do this. And the box is already at the origin, so I'm going to try not to move it. And we'll scale it down until it matches the size of one of those grill pieces, followed by scaling it up until it's wider than the grill. And then we're going to go and do a edit, duplicate with transform, and let's duplicate with special. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a number of copies here. So again, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these things. So we want 5 copies. And we're going to translate the copies in Y. Let's try 0.2 and apply. And 0.2 is too much, so we're going to undo. Let's try 0.1. There we go. So 0.1's not quite enough. Let's try 0.15. 1.8. Yeah, that works. So what this has done is it essentially made all of the grill pieces here for me. And I was trying to grab all of them to move them, and I didn't like that. There we go. So now I'm going to move these forward here and place them inside that grill like that. I don't want to have them as far back as they are, but this is, again, a fairly easy thing to do. Well, that was odd. So let me try this again here. I somehow had the door selected. There we go. Now there's 6 of these things. So yeah, I totally moved the door away from where it used to be. But again, because its pivot was at 0, it's an easy thing to go and move back. Okay, so now with these guys, if I go to the side view here, and I go to polygons, we can delete the backs, which are completely unnecessary. Let's try this again. It's not going to let me pick those. There we go. So I can bring these forward here. And then in the front view, I'm going to start scaling these in to make them match the shape of the grill. And a little bit of overlap here I think is actually going to be fine, as long as we can't see it sticking out anywhere else. So if I get out of here, that gives us the grill. Now I'm going to need something to actually live in behind the bumper. I don't want to just have a big giant gaping hole here where the bumper should be. And so that's going to be an easy thing to do. I'm just going to bridge these two polygons like so. Turn off my grid here again. And I'm going to start going in and adding some cuts here with the multi-cut to make this merge in to the shape that's there. Okay, let's try that again. Nope. There we go. So if I go into my edges here, I should be able to take these and these and these and bridge, closing off that shape. And then I can also take this one and bring it out, scale it out, and bring it to 0 and X. I'm also going to add another connection here to give me that center line, so that once and for all we can merge and mirror. So add a mesh, merge those two together. And again, before I do any of that, I'm going to make sure that I've closed all of this off, so that at no point you can see kind of inside the vehicle here in terms of where things are. And so just looking at where I've got these holes, and yeah, take a look at that, take a look at this. So I've obviously got a hole here that's going to need connecting. So this one looks like it should be easy. I'm going to hold shift and just drag these forward and flatten them out, which will kind of continue that same kind of ridge that's there all the way along. We'll go and target weld this one in here, and this one in here. And I'll move that forward a little bit. And let's see, this can just get bridged, which will square that off. I'm not really liking the shape of that polygon. It's kind of bent a little bit. And so I'm going to have to tweak that somewhat. And there's a hole in here too. Not that one. So yeah, let me undo that bridge. This I'm not pleased with. So I think what I'll do is target weld here. Put that one there. And then take this edge and bring it forward a little bit. So I'm just going to bring this forward a little bit here, just to allow me to close this off without it pinching together the way that this one has. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. I can actually get rid of this edge here, because that's nice and quadded now. And same thing here. I'm going to try and bring this vert back a little bit. Okay, so if I target weld now, that can go there. And might as well just continue target welding here. Let's bring this over and this one down. I can see I'm going to want to create an edge across here. And let's go and bridge these guys off. Like that. And then let me go and do the multi-cut again. Exactly where it looked like it was going to need to go. This can come forward again. There we have it, and there's only one more little hole that needs closing here now. So I'm going to bring this out. And do that. And that should have closed off that entire rear section behind the front bumper. So, one last time, I should be able to delete the half I don't want, followed by a duplicate with special. Now, we gotta undo that because my duplicate with special is broken. So, edit, duplicate with special. It's remembering the settings from last time. So I need 1 and 0 in here. And now I can apply and combine and merge all of the verts together. Okay. And that should be good for the body of the vehicle. Get everything else back. And yeah, we need some bumpers and some wheels. Now wheels are kind of a funky thing that we'll need to adjust here. I'm also looking at the a little bit of a gap I'm getting here in this window. I'm going to go and have to move this down a little bit. Let's see if I can do the two of these together. I'll move it down a little bit and scale it out just a little bit. Again, I don't want to have any gaps, any seams, any holes. Those are going to end up looking pretty bad. And so by going in and cleaning that up a little bit, we can make it look a little bit better. So I've got my headlight, in which I'm going to go modify and freeze transforms. And we're going to move the pivot. Again, I'm going to hold X when I do this. And try and find the origin here. So something like that, which should allow me to duplicate this one too. We're going to edit the pivot. And we'll move it to the origin. And duplicate it. Its transforms need freezing. And now we've got the fog lights. Or the turn signals. We're going to need to make the fog lights here as well. Again, I'm going to use what I've already built to do this. And I'm going to do this by grabbing all the polygons from this guy. Make sure I get them all. And I'm going to duplicate them. And move them over here. And we'll scale them up to match the shape. I'm going to make sure that they're out far enough that they're not impeding on the grill. Which also includes that bottom piece. And I'm going to hold shift and make, or not shift. I'm going to duplicate again and bring another one in to about here. So these two guys can just be duplicated over. And I might as well put all of the lights together into one mesh. They're far enough apart that they won't interfere with one another. All right. Wheels and bumpers and taillights. So the taillights, I'm going to go make those next. I don't need the reference images for this here, obviously, because we can't see them. I'm going to make them square, and I'm going to sit them on this back plate here. And I want them to be two sections, one for the turn signal and one for the brake light. So I'm going to start this in my front view with a box. And I'm going to move the polygons from the box while leaving the box, or leaving the object where it was. And the reason for this is that it's going to keep my pivot at the origin, so long as I don't manipulate it. So I'll bring this out here, and I can start manipulating it now. So I'm going to scale it in, like so, and I want it to be a little bit taller, like so. I'm going to go and grab the edges all the way around and bevel them. This is going to give me something a little bit more round. And we'll give it a couple more segments here. Maybe something like that, which is going to look good. And then I'm going to go into these edges and connect them. And hit enter. This is going to give me the separation between the turn signal, which I'll do at the top, and the brake light, which will be at the bottom. And then I'll take this polygon and let's extrude with an offset. So that's going to give me 0.05. And then this one, extrude with an offset 0.05 as well. And I think that's going to look good. Let's go around here. Apparently I've done those on the wrong side, which again is not the end of the world. I'm just going to take this and hold J and just spin it around 180 degrees, like so. And then, let's see, let's go and take this face and this face, and we're going to extrude these together here. We're going to give these a little bit of an offset and a little bit of a thickness. Which will make them look pretty decent. We can get rid of the polygons at the back. And then I just need to destroy the n-gons here. So I'm going to connect like that. Connect like that. And connect here. And I'll do the same thing down here. And across. And there, that thing's all quadded now. And I'm just going to go into the polygons and align it now. I'm going to do this in the side view. Get them to line up. With that rear shape. And again, I'm going to try and view this in 3D here as well. I'm going to bring it in a little bit. And just a little bit more. Okay. And we've got taillights. Bumpers and wheels, and that would be it for the low poly of this. Okay, let's do the wheels. let me bring back my channel box layer editor, bring back my reference image, and see what we can do with these wheels. So I'm going to make them out of a cylinder, which I'm hoping is no surprise. We're going to rotate that cylinder into place, like so. And again, out of happenstance, this appears to be darn near the right scale on its own. We'll go to the front view here, and we're going to move this over. Again, I'm going to move it over using the polygons. Since its pivot is already centered, this is going to make it a lot easier, and I won't have to go and move that pivot again. Okay, so that's where, according to the reference, the wheel is. I'm going to have to obviously move it out because my my frame here is in the way, and I think it actually looks a little goofy where it is, and so we'll go and grab, if we can, there we go, the entirety of the wheel, and I'm going to pull it out here a little bit further. I think it should live about there. So the first thing I want to do is we need to make a hubcap, and we need to make some tire treads. Now the tire treads here just appear to be zigzags, and this is actually going to make our lives pretty easy. It's not something very overly complex to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some cuts here. I'm going to make a cut for each of the zigzag lines. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll go and put this at 5, like this, and I'll hit enter to accept that. And then what I want to do, let's isolate this guy. What I want to do with this is I want to grab essentially all the vertices here. And this is going to be a little bit easier to do if, watch this. So in my front view, I'm going to grab all the internal polygons, leaving the outside ones. And I'm going to isolate those. And this will just make my life simpler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab every other row of vertices. Okay. And I'm going to move them to the right. And then we're going to go to select, and we're going to go inverse. And I'm going to move all these ones to the left. Now, when we bring everything back, that will have moved all of those edges in and around the shape. And we can actually go and select them all. And we'll just center them here a little bit better in the wheel. I'm going to go and bevel them. Like so. And in fact, I think I'm going to do this a slightly different way. I'm going to grab the outer one and the center one and bevel them. And I'll give these a large bevel, 0.4. And then we'll grab these ones and bevel those at a value of 0.2. Then I grab all of this and extrude. And we just give it some inner thickness. And that'll give us some tread. Now, whether or not we're going to actually put that tread on the low poly, I'm not entirely sure. It might be overkill, it might not be. We'll have to go and see how it looks afterwards. I'm going to grab these outer edges now and bevel those. Essentially giving us a rounder shape for the tire, at least on the outside. Get everything back here again. We can then go and let's go to the side view to see this. Create the rim that's going to be here. So if I grab this and hit connect and set this to 1, something like that. We're going to grab the pinch. No, it's the slide. Too much. There we go. So I'll just hit enter here now. And that's going to give us, again, the beginnings of this shape. I'm going to bring these in a little bit. And then we'll... Come on. Let's try this again. Grab all of these edges. And I'm going to add another connection here. And these ones I'll scale back out again. And you can see that's going to give us that rounded shape of the tire. Okay, now to make the hubcap. I'm going to grab the polygons here, and I'm actually going to duplicate them. And the reason I want to do this... No object to duplicate. I want to... I can't just duplicate polygons? Okay, bizarre. Anyway, I'm going to pull this guy out. And what I want to do here, I'm going to separate this into a new mesh. So we'll go edit mesh. Let's detach this and separate it so it's not part of the wheel anymore. This is just the hub. And we can go and now make this thing look a little bit more round, like so. And if I look at this, there's kind of a dome that happens internally here. So here we'll go this and edges and connect, enter, and I'll scale this guy up, followed by pushing him in just a little bit. And then we'll grab this vertex, these polygons, and we're going to bevel. Not bevel. Extrude. So I'm going to pull this out, bring the offset down, give it a couple of divisions. Apparently the divisions are not going to matter, so I'll just bring them back down. Followed by beveling this edge. And that'll give me that rounded shape. So now I'll take the wheel here, and I'm going to duplicate it and bring it to the back. This would probably be best done if I could see where it's supposed to be in the back. That was pretty close. And then these guys can be duplicated with special. Once we put these pivots here at the origin. Let's freeze our transforms. Let's go look at our duplicate with special. Weird, okay. That's not exactly what I want to have happen. Cancel. Undo. That's bizarre. I'm not sure why it's not duplicating. Those are at 0 and X. The pivot point's in the right place. Okay, let's combine them together. There, that worked. So apparently they just needed combining together before I could do that. I'm going to separate them again. Again, because when we do our baking, I'm not going to want the rubber and the rim to be in the same mesh. Lastly, the only thing I need to make are the bumpers. And maybe this little license plate here wouldn't be a bad thing to do. We'll start with the bumper being a box, which I'll place here. Again, I'm going to ignore the fact that it's all warpy and ugly, and we're going to just do this perfectly straight, and I'll use a deformer in the end here. So I'll scale this guy down and scale him out until he's about the width of the bumper. And we'll go to the front view, or the side view rather, and we can bring him out to where the side view should have the bumper, which looks to be about there. And then I'm going to grab all the edges of this thing and bevel them like so. This is going to give me a more bumper-esque shape to this thing. And I'm going to also give it a few segments down the center here. This is going to be important, not now, but once we end up... Actually, let's do 5 in here. That should be 0. There we go. It's not going to be important now, but it'll be important once we actually start warping this thing in order to be able to get it to look correct. And so yeah, that'll read kind of nicely as the bumper for the front. And then I'm just going to duplicate it and bring it to the back. In fact, I'm going to duplicate it, but grab all the polygons and just move those to the back. Like so. Again, let me line this up with the side view here. Something a little bit like that. And we'll go and adjust this to make it match the shape a little bit better. We can do the same thing with this one. Just grab these vertices here. And maybe we'll move them up. Move these ones down a little bit. And maybe I'll put a connection through here. And I can just use this to give this a little bit more curvature. Spare tire, and that should be it. And the spare tire is going to be a fairly easy thing to do. I just need one of the wheels, which I can then duplicate and bring back, and we'll go and rotate this. Try that again. Let's do this from the side view so I can track the rotation here. I'm going to hold J when I rotate to snap it, like so. And we'll rotate it this way and go and place it back against the back of this thing, as well as putting it in the middle. And just like that, I've got the modeling of this thing done now. With the exception of maybe the rear view mirrors. It's probably the last thing we would need to make. Why don't we go and do that? Let's do this in the front view so I can see them. And again, I'm going to start this with a box that I'll bring out here. And I'll just go and reposition this to match the rear view mirror a little bit better. I'm going to do this in the side view here too. Now I can't see it in the side view mirror, but I do know where it's going to live. It's going to live about here. And I'm going to bring these back. The next thing I'm going to do is select all the edges but the ones there and bevel these to do something like that. Again, I'm going to look at this from the front, and that's not too bad. Bring these down a little bit. I'm going to go grab the polygon where the mirror is going to be. and we can go and extrude this. We'll do a little bit of an offset, followed by a little bit of a thickness going in to indicate where that mirror is going to be. And then we can go and connect this. If I go and grab, let's isolate this guy. So if I go and grab these 4 polygons here, I'm going to inset them, again using the extrude offset option, like so. And I think that'll work nicely. What I'm going to do now with this, go back to my polygons, let's see if we can turn this into a perfect circle. So if we go look up here, these are a duplicate of all the tools that are here. In fact, it's not all of them. There are a couple that aren't there. One of which is this little icon here, which allows me to turn any selection I have into something circular. And so I'm going to do that to do this. So that'll create a really nice set of circular vertices here, which should be quite nice now if I extrude this to create the end of that mirror. And I'm going to delete those polygons, and we are going to get out of isolation mode. Let's get out of isolation mode first, and then we'll go move these back up here and delete them. Giving us the rear view mirror, which I can duplicate onto both sides. Now I'm going to move the mirrors back. So we're just going to combine these and slide them back here. I want them to be on the door and not on the body. That's not too bad. There's a little window here that needs to exist as well. This little line here. I'm just debating on whether or not I'm actually going to do that. I think I'm going to choose to ignore that, as I believe the car looks fine without it. Okay. With that done, all I'm going to do now is just clean up my file here, name everything, and we should be good. So I'm going to first start by hiding that, and I'm going to then start to grab duplicate objects here. So there's the doors, and they are going to be combined. And then in the channel box, we're going to go name them doors_low. We're going to edit, delete by type history, and we're also going to freeze the transforms on this. There's the door handle. This, again, is going to need its pivot point edited, brought down to center. Again, I'm going to freeze the transforms on this in case I hadn't already. Turn this off. I'm going to duplicate it, which is no good. Let's try that again. We're going to modify, freeze transforms, and duplicate it over here. I'll grab the two, which I can combine, and these are now going to be called door handles _low. And again, edit, delete by type history. We can also open up the outliner here in order to track exactly what has been and hasn't been merged. So this hood _low, edit, delete by type history. We'll call this body _low and delete by type history. Windows _low, that one's already been done. Lights. So that did say fog lights. I'm going to replace it to just say lights _low, delete by type history. You know, in fact, I can just grab everything and delete by type history, which will clean them all up at once. In doing so, all the names are gone now, though. If I grab this guy, you can see there's hood is gone here. Hood _low. So I think what I'm going to do here, just because there's a lot of this grouping going on in the file, what I'm going to do to kind of speed my my workflow up a little bit here is I'm going to grab the entirety of the car, and we're going to go to Edit. Actually, before we do this, let's go to, we're going to need to do our smoothing groups here as well. So I'm going to grab the glass, which is this guy. And we're going to go to edge mode here, grab all the edges of this thing, and we're going to say mesh display and softened edges. That's going to make sure that the windshield is rounded. Okay, we're going to grab this guy and all of his edges, mesh display, and we're going to go soften harden. And this is going to give us an angle here that we can try to mess around with and see how well that's going to work. Let's bring it up to 40 degrees. And the idea here is that we want to get edges that are meant to be soft, soft, and edges that are meant to be hard, hard. And so this guy, all the way through here, mesh display, soften. Okay, that looks good. So we lost the rear fender here a little bit. So that's an easy fix. This is going to be mesh display harden edge. And it's showing up the right way now. There's an edge here as well, which should be mesh display soften. And it's just kind of going over the entirety of the object here, making now sure that the way that it's being rendered is the way that we want it to appear. That guy looks fine. This guy, so we're going to need this to be, in fact, I might as well do, let's see what's going on here. So I've got two front wheels on this guy. That one's fine. Okay. So we're going to put all the wheels together here in one object. And then if I go to polygon mode and just grab all the rubber, I did not like that. We'll go and soften those. So make them work a little bit better. We'll do the headlights, which looks nice. We'll do the hood. Those guys. And in fact, a couple of edges here didn't work as well. So I think what I'll do, let's grab the whole of this thing and soften it. Followed by hardening the ones that I need to be hardened. Come here. That one. So mesh display and harden. And then lastly is just the mirrors themselves. And those guys should now look good. So, mesh display and harden. I've actually got some N-gons here that I hadn't noticed originally. And so we'll go and clean those up. Okay, that looks good. Do the same thing on this side. And that looks good. Again, we're going to grab these edges here and soften these. Okay. Door handles. There, another one that just needs to be all soft. And then this will soften. Do the same thing here on this side, mesh display harden, and then these two mesh display soften. Not too bad. I think I'm going to grab the entirety of the hood and soften it as well, just to make that ridge disappear a little bit better. This guy, soften, followed by this internal shape. Harden. In fact, I think that one will look better hard too. So a couple more here that I noticed on the fender, and we'll call this a day. All right, I'm really pleased with that now. Now again, part of my cleanup process here, I think the easiest thing to do would be to export this out in a way that that cleans it all up. So let's go to modify and freeze transforms on everything. Let's go to edit and delete by type history on everything. Now it's telling me the hood here has still got some transforms on it. Let's go edit, delete all by type history. And let's delete by type non-deforming history too. And it's not pulling that guy out of there. And I got another one here too. The windshield trim. This is another one here. That all of the edges for this should be soft. Giving it that rounded look. Okay. So here's what we're going to try and do. I'm going to first save my file. And we'll go save it into scenes. And this is going to be stylized car 01. And I'll save that. And then what we're going to try and do here is we're going to try and do this. I'm going to export this. File, export selection, and I'm going to export this out as an OBJ file, which is a very rudimentary 3D file. This is the one that we looked at in classes, the having only just the vertices and the vertex normals. And so I'm going to export this really quickly just to my desktop called car, like so. And then I'm going to try something here, which is deleting this, which I now have. You can see there's some things in here that are empty, which we can delete, like so. And now I'm going to go file and import, since now this is really nice and clean, off my desktop, that car object. Now, this did work. It did clean up absolutely everything that was messy on my file. The downside is that it merged it all back together, which means I'm going to have to go and separate out everything again in order to get this to look the way that I wanted it to look. And so I don't know how appealing that is, but it might be something that just requires doing in order to get us to the point where we are. So, if I grab the windscreens, or the windows, and I go to Edit Mesh and Detach, followed by Separate, it will have separated those all together. So we can combine them now. And then modify and freeze transforms and edit, delete by type history. And we now do have a mesh that we can go name glass_low. And that guy's now good to go. If we undo this again, that guy's fine. So I can go to the car and I can now select the next element. So go to polygons, I can grab the hood, and we can separate the hood, which is just this guy, which again, delete by type history. Now it would appear that this is not working the way that I want it to, and that it is still grouping the hood here as part of the car. You'll see that if I select the car mesh group, that this is here. If I go to edit and ungroup this, yeah, it doesn't look like we're actually able to separate this thing out. So that's not going to work. Not in the way that I would have liked it to. So this is why I just saved. So we're going to open our scene back up here. And there's the car again, made up of all its separate components again. So the idea here is just going to be now to go in and name these things and delete all their history. So this is going to be car body_low. And edit, delete by type history. The glass, which is already Windows low. This, which is the grill trim _low. This, which is going to be lights _low. And I may as well add the taillights to that mix as well. Only because they are lights as well, and again, they're far enough away that they're not going to interfere. Wheels _low, and in fact, I'm going to need to separate the hubcaps from the rubber, only because they're going to be metal and the rubber is going to be rubber, and so we're going to need to separate these into pieces, like so. So here we have the Let's delete by type history. Tires underscore low. And these guys, which again, if I go to modeling and combine, are now going to be the hubs underscore low. Here's something called P cube, which is front bumper. Actually, we'll call this bumpers. Let's merge them first. There we go. So again, delete by type and history. And this is bumpers. Bumpers underscore low. That looks good. Door handles underscore low is good. These are mirrors underscore low. I'm kind of just picking out things called box. This is the grill underscore low. Edit, delete by type in history. So this guy, again, has some transforms here that I don't appear to be able to get rid of. Reset transforms, freeze transforms, and delete by type, history. And it's still there, so we're going to call this, anyway, window trim underscore low. So this guy too. Let's see if deleting any of this does not appear to fix anything. So I've got some empty objects here too. Fog light low, which I can delete. This one, and you can see when you need to delete them. If you just move them aside, these are empty objects that once they were connected, no longer actually contain any geometry. Doors underscore low, door handles, wheels underscore low, which contains just the tires. So again, that appears to be everything. With just a couple of these pieces now that are containing this little grouping here. There we go. So I'm just going to edit and ungroup. And that is removing those things from those groups. Okay. So I'm double checking all my names. Everything looks really nice and clean. Tires low is not a good name. There we go. And then this guy, which is the window trim underscore low. And that should be it. So I'm going to save my file here now. And the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to select the entirety of my car, and we're going to go make a new layer containing this object that we'll call low poly. And I'll make this green, since this is the one that I'm going to want to make sure I export. And we have a new layer there now. So we'll save the file here again now that that's done. And just like that, we've got another video done. So in part 3, we'll take a look at creating the high poly version of the car. We'll be duplicating this mesh and adding additional details to it to create a bake that we can then use to generate a normal map. Okay, we'll see you then.